Hi everyone. So if you are a fan of this fabulous artist, Rex Ray, and you would like to watch me not make a Rex Ray, but make papers inspired by Rex Ray so that I can cover up the worst canvas that I've ever created, which I'll show you in a moment, then that's what this video is going to be about. So this is what I did over the past couple of days. I made all these papers the other day with my friend Cindy, and I had a lot of fun making them, but they're not awesome. So what I wanted to do was cover up this canvas, which was covered with black paint, so I would not have a white canvas. And I would like to come up with some colors and some quiet patterns that will cover up this cacophony, because this frightens me. I have had it in the other room up against the wall backwards so I didn't have to look at it. So if that's interesting to you and you think you'd like to join me on this journey into the great unknown, then that's what I'm going to do. I'll meet you back here at the paint table and let's get started. All right, so let's begin by taking a look at this incredible artist who has inspired me, who is Rex Ray. And the particular image, I'm just going to bring it a little closer because I'd like you to see some of the detail that inspired me, mostly because the back of my piece is orange. So I have to literally interpret this guy because I don't know how to do it on my own. But I also am drawn to the way these colors look on top of this orange. And if you look at some of his textures, some of them are very patterned, but a lot of those patterns are made out of his cutout shapes. But a lot of them are just very painterly. Rather than having a lot of pattern, it's a lot of tone on tone, which could be really interesting to work with. So that's my inspiration. I have pulled out my, let me put this aside for a moment. I have pulled out my large Gelli plate, which I rarely use because I don't usually have paper big enough for it, but this is a 12 by 14 Gelli Arts plate. And I've also pulled out my Nova colors. Now I bought these Nova colors because I have a problem with buying art supplies. Every time I see an artist making beautiful art, I'm convinced that if I only have their art supplies, I can make beautiful art too. It's a lie. The only way you make beautiful art is by making ugly art until you figure out beautiful. So I've got all of the colors here, which are many. They're very vivid. I don't usually work with vivid colors because I don't know how to. I've taken color theory. I understand how color works, but I don't know how to physically make it happen. I have also taken 24 by 24 inch sheets of newsprint that I buy at Home Depot, and I've cut them into sheets that should be big enough to cover my plate without a bunch of waste. And then I have a bunch of smaller sheets for whatever. The last thing I want to show you is just a pile of textural stencils that I have pulled out that have different geometric patterns, you know, and one of the things that Rex Ray does is a lot of tone on tone, so I thought these might be interesting with friends on, you know, to just add some pattern. My favorite rug things, some things that I've carved myself. So we've got these kinds of things. And the way I'm going to begin is to dive in and just start rolling out some paint on this plate and see what happens. I'm going to begin with one of the scariest colors. For me, again, these are not scary colors for normal people, but for an artist like me who worked professionally in black and white for a long time, this is a pretty frightening color. And I'm going to just go pure. I don't even know if that's enough paint. This is a big plate, so I don't know how much paint is enough paint. We'll find out. This is a pretty transparent color. And I think what I'm probably going to do is just pull a print. This is a beat up brayer. Pull a print without texturing it or do any of those things. Okay, I'll tell you what I love about newsprint. Ooh, look at this color. Look at this color, guys. I'll tell you what I love about newsprint. Newsprint is very soft and it absorbs the paint beautifully, and it also glues down very nicely. So perhaps I think I'm all right. I don't know what I'm doing, guys, so I'm just going to keep making full color backgrounds. What happened to you, guy? You look like you had a motorcycle crash. All right, let's just do this. This vivid bright orange. What does that say for? This is a translucent color as well. I have a lot of paint on this plate. This may be good for more than one pull. Okay. Yes, baby, that is a lot of paint. However, look at how lovely those two are together. Not half bad. I probably could have cut these pages just a little bit bigger. I'll get a wipe sheet for it. When I was in the studio yesterday, painting Sunday with Cindy, I wore a new piece of clothing that I got from one of my manufacturers while I was painting. Look at this orange thing. And I got teal paint on my orange thing. Let's go really yellow. You can tell I've hardly used any of these colors. You know, for those that are new here, I've been a kind of a professional designer. Big difference between a designer and an artist, but I've been a professional designer for a long time. I own my own company for 17 years. And we did personalized wedding pottery, which we sold to gift stores and mail order catalogs like Uncommon Goods and Female Creations and stuff like that. And we did not survive the shutdown in 2020. It killed my business, but that's not the story. The story is all of the designs that I created were transferred onto the pottery using hand-carved stamps. Hand-carved stamps and eventually polymer stamps. And in order to design for polymer stamps, you have to have, oh, that's pretty. Hold on, guys. Let me just get this off of here. That's very pretty. In order to design for, and I'm going to throw these on the floor because I don't have any more, my horizontal space has been taken up by me. So I had to design in black and white in order to make these stamps. And so I'm pretty skilled at designing in black and white, but I am not skilled. Oh, look, I apparently like this color. I am not skilled in designing in black and white. In color. So even though when I studied interior design, I took color theory, to be able to practice color theory, you have to work with color. And I did not. So this is always very interesting and very new for me to play around with it and see how they work together physically, because I don't have a lot of background on that. These roll-off sheets, I have to tell you, they're some of my favorite things are these roll-off sheets. Okay, so this could get repetitive, so probably what's going to end up happening is I may speed through some of this unless I feel like telling a story. And then I'll go regular speed ahead. These are very pretty colors. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do is go a little bit silent for a while and just make a bunch of papers, and then I'll think about how I'm going to add a tone on top of that, but I'll do that in a little while. It occurred to me that you guys would like to know the names of these colors, and I haven't been telling you. So what I'm getting ready to put on right now is called Pyrrole Red. And I'm going to put it right on top of Indian Yellow and what's that other? Organic Orange. Ooh, that's red. What did you think it was going to be, Cherie? It says red right on the cover. I just heard it. I heard my Boston accent. It sneaks out. I always think I've tamed it. You know, when I was growing up, I grew up right on the Massachusetts line. And my accent was as pure a Boston accent as you've ever heard. And when I went into the Navy, when I was 19, my second duty station was Iceland. I applied for and received isolated duty, figuring, you know, I'm in the Navy, I might as well travel. So I got stationed in Iceland for a year in 1976. And while I was, ooh, look at this color. Oh, this is a little bit soft. Oh, all right, let's go a little slower here. My plate is not sticking to the glass as much as I'd like. So when I got off the plane, the airport at the time was on the Navy base. Look at this little yummy red. There was a Master Chief standing there, and he asked me if I had been assigned a job yet. And I said, no. He said, come with me. And he took me to AFRTS, which is the television station, American Forces Radio and Television Service, Pyrrole Red. Now we're going to try quinacridone red. That came up clean. Brought me to what we affectionately called AFARTS, American Forces Radio and Television Service, and brought me into where we ran our TV station, which was mostly done with old-fashioned film and not CDs, they didn't have them back then, DVDs. No, they weren't even DVDs, they were like VCRs or something like that. Anyways, so apparently they thought I would look good on camera because I was a cute little girl back then. And they decided to audition me. Oh, look at this color, guys. They decided to audition me to be a newscaster. And they gave me a script to read, which I read. And they were hysterical laughing at me. They thought I was the funniest thing, and I was wicked insulted. I was not. I didn't think it was funny at all. They made fun of my accent. They kept repeating. I don't even remember what it was that I said, but they kept repeating it. They were this color. They were hysterical. They thought I was the funniest thing in the world, and I did not appreciate their humor. So I made a very earnest effort. That's called quinacridone red. I made a very earnest effort to not have an accent. And by the time I got out of the military in 1978, I didn't have one anymore, by design. Unless I got around someone, I'm gonna switch to darn. I don't know what I'm doing, guys. Oh, I don't have yellow ochre yet, which is half empty because it's not a color I'm scared of. So if I would get around, oh, look at that big blob. If I would get around someone with a Boston accent, I don't know if it was out of camaraderie. I don't know what would happen to me. And the same thing happens now. I go right back into it. It's very embarrassing. It's actually not so, I'll tell you when it's embarrassing to be the type of accent person that I am, is when I get around someone with a different kind of an accent. I pick up their accent, and it almost sounds like I'm mimicking them or making fun of them, and I promise you that is not the intent. But I do end up picking up their accent. And I had heard someone at one point said that it was called something like a phonic ear or something like that, you know, where you know, apparently people who have that tendency to pick up accents are supposed to be able to learn foreign languages easier. Yeah, not a true story. I don't learn foreign accents, languages easier, but I certainly will pick up your Irish accent if I'm around you long enough. Oh, so this is going to be fun once I start picking up secondary colors. I guess what I'm going to do right now is just keep going. I'm going to keep going with these warm colors for a while and see if I can't put some of these on top of what I've already created to get some sort of a tone on tone. Yeah, let's see how that goes, because I did this without thinking. I just picked up a color and I'm rolling it out. So would I do that and possibly, I don't know, I'm just gonna wing it, guys. That, and put that on top of this. I don't know what this is. This looks maybe Indian yellow. I'm just going to grab this little furniture puck. Let's see how this looks. It looks subtle, which was what I was going for. This has got a little bit of orange and stuff on it. Maybe I can pick up more before I pull up the ghost. And I'm not even trying to keep it clean. That's on there, but barely. So let's try this. Let's take that off. That, and I'll just go right over it. See how it reads. Okay, this does kind of feel textural, like Rex Ray, whose real name is Michael Patterson, by the way. Not a lot of pattern. That's the problem. Sometimes with my collages, I have so many things that are patterned and almost nothing that is not patterned, that it can be a challenge to work them out. I'm just going to work with this same color again because it's here. All right. What if I'll just grab the top one. This is Parole Red. What a color. Holy moly. Let's see what happens if I just mix a little bit of the, ooh, ooh, ooh. Okay. Not exactly what I had in mind. But you know what? Sometimes the things that I don't have in mind are the most interesting things. Does this want to be a background, or is this going over something? I actually think it's going to be a background. It's really pretty. Oh, look what it did. It pulled up the pattern for the, what was left over on the ghost. That's interesting. That tells me that I'm going in the direction that I like, so I'm going to keep going. Let me try the red again. Maybe with a scooch of yellow. It's going to be very red. Takes a while to get used to this big plate to know how much paint. Oh, I just saw something happen. So not yesterday, whatever day it was that I was making all those papers, I started using this squirt bottle to spray the plate before apparently I can't talk and lay down a stencil at the same time, guys. I sprayed the plate before I put the paint down, and it caused the paint to bubble up a little bit like maybe a little bit like a wood grain, which is something that Rex Ray uses in his work a lot. Let's see what we get here. Okay. All right. Yeah, something that he uses in his work a lot is a wood grain. Maybe, let's see how that reads on top of this bright orange. I don't think I'm going to get much of it, but I'll get the ghost after I pull up the rest of this. Unless I choose not to. No, that's almost nothing. That. So I could try that on top of some of these. Look at how that's so nicely adhered down. Boy, that's a bright color. But look at that, guys. Look at how pretty that tone on tone is. Okay, this is nice to be inspired and get something that feels kind of interesting. This looks like Perot red. Not an awesome color for me. But what if I put it and this is called cadmium yellow medium. You can see I've polluted my paint. What if I do that? Let me just mix it in. So for beginners, I pick up my brayer and swirl it around when I want to mix my colors. A lot of gel print artists will mix their colors on a separate gel plate. I don't really have that much space. I've got a pretty tiny little studio here. Okay, I'm going to put that orange on top of this red. See what happens. Pretty, guys. I'm going to see if any of that will come up on here. This is just that yellow and orange thing, because it's not possible. Okay. Not possible to recreate this man's art because he's a genius. I've never seen any kind of symmetry done the way he does it. And it is all done. This one's a little bit tattered, but maybe it can survive another pull. He does everything without measuring. The only tools he really used was a push pin with a string on it to get some of his organic shapes, an X-Acto knife, a pair of scissors, and he would dip his giant papers into glue that was in like I don't know, some sort of, oh, nice. Look at that, guys. Come here, you. So pretty. This is actually going to be good for me because I need I need papers like this that are not all strong pattern. What can I put on top of you? Maybe this organic orange, as well as, what happens if I mix it with the same color, the magenta. Every time I say that, it reminds me of Men in Black. These little worm-like creatures living in some sort of small apartment where when the guy went in there, he had to bend over. And they were saying something like a ronda. Okay, magenta, going in. I know when I first started my channel, I must have said I'm going in like 100 times. Finally broke myself of the habit. I have not broken myself, however, of the habit of saying interesting. Even though I was an English major in school and I love language and I like to write and tell stories and stuff, apparently I have a limited vocabulary. I'm going over this again. It's going to have a lot of paint on it. Not a big difference. Let's see what's underneath here, though. Do it. Just do it. Ooh, look at the pretty colors in that. That almost feels like, you know what? That's so pretty. I'm going to allow this to dry, and I'm going to pick it up with something. So give me a moment. It's dry enough for me to put a coat of something over it. I'm going to just go with the magenta. Again, I only have one sheet of that color. And then what happens when you are trying to pull off a dried layer is that you need to let your paper sit on it for a while. And a while could be 1 or 2 minutes. 2 minutes. And I'm not sure if the newsprint can handle that. So we're going to find out if the newsprint can handle it. I pulled up just a little bit that was on that, but I'm going to leave that there. I may be rushing it, but I'm going to pull this. Oh, it's coming. I don't love those two colors of red together. The yellowy red on top of the bluey magenta. I want something on top of that magenta that has that bluish cast. Yeah, pull the sheet. Yeah, a little bit of, you can see it, but I don't mind that. Maybe I'll do that. Throw some of that back in there so that they'll be friends together. Let's see what happens. It's going to need more pink. That purple is very powerful because the purple can be overpowering, but that is a pretty, pretty color. All right. Let's see what it does to this. It's much darker than I wanted. So let's try it on top of this, which has that red, which I don't love. Let's see what that reads like. It's probably going to be the same thing, much darker. Yeah, what were you expecting? That is a pretty color. Let's just give it a new sheet. Oh, you know what? Hey, watch this, guys. These I made yesterday on a big, big, giant sheet. And I just tore them up while I was waiting for the paint to dry. Let's see what happens. with those, which are, I didn't know when to stop, so I just kept on going until I had everything that was almost the same color. Not recommended to lay your brayer down on your on its wheel. That's actually for me better than it was. All right, so I feel like it's time for me to switch colors. I've been doing I've got probably 1, 2, 3, maybe 10 sheets of warm colors. And I think I shall go now to some cool colors, blues and greens and teals and stuff like that. And let's see what comes of it. Oh, this has gotten, that was worth going back in because that is a very beautiful texture to my eyes. I do want to show you what I'm doing right now, which is getting ready to clean these warm colors off of my plate so they don't muddy my cool colors. And many of you may know this technique, but if you don't, I'm going to put a fairly, not a thick layer, but a thicker layer of white. I don't know why I always use white, but I do, to pull this. And I'm going to let that sit for a couple of minutes, which means I'm going to put photocopy paper down on this. And since I don't have any that fits it, I'm just going to put my sheet on it that I use to protect my plate. And I'm going to leave this down for at least a couple of minutes. Seriously, at least a couple of minutes, because I want it all to go. I want it all to pull. So, I'll be back. Okay, let's see what we get. Oh, interesting. See those little, all right, look what's just happened here. Oh, that's an interesting concept. You see what I'm leaving behind? You know what that is? That's the tape that turned this into a big sheet of paper instead of a small sheet of paper, which really inspires me to I don't know what I'm going to do about that, but that's actually pretty cool. It was a resist. Very interesting. All right, I'm just going to leave it there. I'm going to leave it there, and I'm going to go in. I've got a couple of Liquitex Basics fluids, and I really like this bright green color. You can see that paint is still wet. It's streaking. Yeah, this is definitely transparent. So let's see what we get. Let's pull this off. Maybe I could let this sit for just a minute. See if it'll pick up those pieces of tape. It looks like pixelated because I mushed it. But that's my first cool color. I'm going to go in again with that, but I'm also going to add some of this to it and see what might go over that. So this is not really a very exciting video, guys. This is very repetitious. So it feels like I need to pull a story out of my hat if I'm going to keep you guys engaged. Let's see. So I used to, I don't know if I told you this, but I used to write. I belonged to a writers group, and we would write short stories and then share them with the group, and they would critique them and stuff. I'm going to tell you a story that happened to me. I ended up writing it. But, so I grew up in a town on the border of Massachusetts where we had a racetrack, horses. I was there all my life. So I lived in this tiny little, it was a studio apartment. And it was little. I mean, it was one room, one tiny room, a little tiny kitchen, and I waited tables at this restaurant. And there was a kid that worked there with me named Nicky. We called him Nicky. And he called me up one day and asked me if I would take care of his cat. He was going to, I don't know, maybe Florida. And asked me if I would take care of his cat. That's very pretty. Okay. Let me try this blue-green over that. And I said, yeah, yeah, I'll take care of your cat. How long are you going to be gone? And he said, just, a week. And he said, you just need to know that he's an outdoor cat, and he's an escape artist. So you just need to know that about this cat. And I was like, don't worry, I've had cats all my life. I know how to take care of your cat. So Nicky dropped off the cat. I don't remember the cat's name, but I started calling it Devil Cat because this cat destroyed my house. This cat wanted out on an epic scale. It was not interested in staying in my house at all. And every time I opened up the door, I had to jump out quickly because freaking Devil Cat was right at the door trying to make an escape. And he was not easy to take care of. So the day in question, see what I'm doing here? I'm just actually just leaving these textures on here so that I get solid, but I get a pattern. So I'm in the shower. I come out of the shower. The first thing I notice is that the screen in the window is gone. And the next thing I notice is that Devil Cat has escaped. I'm standing there in my bathrobe with a towel on my head. Oh, so pretty. Look at this pretty thing. Bathrobe with a towel on my head. And I'm responsible for this cat. I might have been a party girl back then, but I took the responsibilities that I took on pretty seriously. So I go outside to retrieve this frickin' cat, who is on the other side of the chain link fence dividing me from the racetrack. And on the other side of the racetrack, on the other side of the chain link fence, I'm going to do this color again, I like it. I can see, there's that merry-go-round thing. It's right near my house. There's a bunch of barns. There's people working over there and stuff. And so why I don't go into the house and put on clothes before I do this next thing, I can't say, but this is what I did. So the chain link fence goes to a corner in the back of the lot. On my side, there is a cinder block, and on the other side is a log. And I look at that, and I look at that frickin' cat, and I decide I'm going over. So I climb up on top of this cinder block, and I scale the fence. And when I jump down onto the other side of the fence, those little picky things at the top of a chain link fence grab my bathrobe. And when I hit the ground, I am naked. I am completely naked on frickin' racetrack property. and I'm jerking on my, I am jerking on my bathrobe, trying to pull it down. And I'm looking around to see if there are witnesses, and there are. There are witnesses. There are two guys standing inside of the barn on the other side of this fence, standing inside of the door, and they have the most delighted look on their face while I'm standing there bare-assed, yanking on my bathrobe. I go over, I finally get it down, I put it on, I go over and pick up that frickin' cat. I wanted to throw her, him, whatever it was, over the fence. And somehow I get back on the other side of that fence and get that cat in the house. And I was so humiliated because I was young, you know, and just, I wasn't, I didn't want to be seen naked, but I did not make a smart decision. I think about those guys. I think about them wherever they were from. A lot of people were from all over the world. They worked the racetrack. They were from countries like New Zealand and South America. You know, not like South America is a country, it's a continent, but they, you know, I can imagine these guys going back to their home. I'm going to, hold on a second, guys. Apparently I can't talk and do this at the same time. I'm just going to put this right back on because it's too much white. Yeah, I think about those guys going home and telling this story about the naked lady in New Hampshire. And you know what about Nick? He never came back to pick up that frickin' cat. I got stuck with that cat. That cat would tear around through my house, literally up the walls, so that any artwork that was hanging on the walls ended up on the ground. I need to do something with that. Yeah, devil cat. Black cat with white tips on his ears. Monster cat is quite yummy. Let's see what we're going to do. I think this might just be a bit. Ooh, look at that delicious color with a big wad of something. Okay, this looks like it's going to be a background, but maybe I'll texture this background first. Let's see what happens. Oh, that's picking up. I don't want to pick up. I want to leave the paint on. Okay, that did pick up. But that might not be bad. So I'm going to do just a few more sheets because this is not the most interesting thing to watch. But what I'm going to plan, and I don't know how I'm going to do this part, guys, because I have a very, very small studio. I would like to somehow record what I'm going to do. I don't like that. That's going back in. What's this? That's called phthalo blue. Ooh. All right, I'd like to somehow record part of my process of trying to collage this thing. And I don't know how I'm going to do that because of the size of my studio. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to. It just means that it might be, instead of a top down like this, it might be, I don't know. We'll figure it out. But that's going to be, I don't know if it's going to be the next video because I don't know how hard it's going to be. But it's going to be a video. Okay, this is going back in. I don't. Ooey, ooey. Ooey, looky, guys. That's a deep, dark blue. Maybe I could put something slightly lighter over it so that it's not so solid looking. Let's see if I can pick up. See this green sheet, which is not awesome. What if I do this with a little bit of white and get like one of the colors that he's got over there is this soft, kind of like a baby turquoise. Not my favorite color, but everything can't be the same. Everything, you know, everything can't be like the same value, because that's my challenge as an artist, is I have not figured out. Color. Okay, I do like that. I think what I'm seeing is just that little bit left over on a new sheet is a pretty, I feel like I need to do that again. I'm going to do that again, guys. I think this will be my last one, and then we'll do an inventory. Let's see what's left. And that'll tell me if I need to make up some extra papers so that I've got some variety. Because it almost feels like that orange is so bright. I'm going to need some dark values to... Hey, watch this. Watch this, guys. Watch me jump around and change, switch subjects, but watch this. Somebody told me about that. I did it by mistake one day. And look at, you get a nice little pressure plate thing. So I'm looking at my, while I'm searching for words, because apparently sometimes my mouth only works when my hands are working and sometimes not. I'm looking on the floor, and I've got a really interesting range of colors down there. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at what I've got. I'm going to clean up. Hold on one second. All right, I've sort of cleaned things up, and I'm going to show you what I did today. First thing I want to do is just look at these roll-off sheets. Not all of them are lovely, but there's some beautiful patterns, and one of the things that Rex Ray does is he just chops everything up. And so I can chop those up. So those are the roll-off sheets, which I've always been a big fan of. And then I'm going to, I'm hoping, let me stand on my chair. Hold on. Let me just risk my life for art and make sure that we can see. Here, you stay there. All right. So this I don't care for because of the darkness on it. But these tone-on tones I like, and normally I love yellow ochre, but this does not feel like it belongs with this group of papers. It's very different. Some more magenta, orange, bright yellow, which I never use in my work. One of my favorites. I made a lot of papers here, guys. I don't know how many, but a lot. Now we get into the cool colors. Very interesting. I feel like I'm going to need more very dark value like this, and I don't know what those colors would be. Here, let me just jump in. See what he's got? Look at these colors. All these oranges, I mean all these yellows and teals and stuff. I feel like I did that. I feel like I got those. So some patterns. Some really nice textures. That needs more. This is not my favorite. So that's the bottom one. So that's what we did today, guys. And I did it with your help. I always do it with your help because sometimes I'm a lazy artist. So Rex Ray, if you're looking for a book to inspire you, this is his book that's just called Rex Ray, and it is a motivator. Wait till you see the things inside of here and how this man developed his artwork. So a follow-up video might be me not doing anything like this, but doing something with these to cover up that big orange crazy mess that I made back there. Thanks for coming. My name is Cherie Burlington. I'm an artist, an errant, an angel mom. I like making art with you guys here, and I hope to see you soon. Come by, come back again. See ya. Bye.